In this video, we are taking a look at these, version 2 of the Saucony Endorphin Pro. We're going to be talking about how it compares against version 1. Is it still worth the money? Is it still one of the best hyper shoes out there? All that kind of stuff. So let's get stuck in. Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to 40 Runs. How we all doing, people? Let me know in the comments. And while you're down there, do you own version 1 of the Pro, or have you already bagged version 2? Let me know in the comments. And also, what do you think of this colourway? I think it looks awesome. I have to say, Saucony makes some really cool looking colourways for their shoes. Like even the current line of Speed, because we've not got the Speed 2 over here in the UK, all the different colours they've got out at the moment in these shoes. They have done an amazing job. So let me know in the comments. Right, so like I said at the start, this video is not really a review, so to speak, I would say, because there's so little changes in this shoe versus version 1. I will talk a little bit about how it feels and all that kind of stuff. But I also wanted to look more in detail at the sort of changes. We're going to get all scientific. I've got a tape measure, which means we're getting really scientific. I've got the scales from Mrs. Fordy. We're going to look at the subtle changes they've made. Do they feel the same? And also, I think, which is important, where do I see it in terms of the current sort of hyper shoes and all that sort of stuff. I'll talk about where I've used it previously, the Pro version 1, and where I think it could fit into your rotation. Okay, so let's do stats and features of version 2, and then we'll talk about the changes and things like that. So it is still the Power Run PB midsole, which is a PB based foam, which is super light, but I think it's like 40% lighter than some foams out there. We've got this single layer mesh upper. We've got overlays on the top. We've got a new sort of lacing element to it in terms of midfoot lockdown. I'll show you that in a second. But overall, the lacing is, let's call it traditional versus some of the shoes. We've got a gusseted tongue, which is hardly there. We've got a little bit of foam, not a hell of a lot of structure in the heel counter. We've got rubber sort of strategically placed around the outside, then you've got the exposed Power Run PB. The shoe's got an 8mm drop from memory, and weight, let's just weigh it now while I've got the scales out, because we are going to do a comparison. Where are we? So these are in ounces, people. We'll do the other stuff. So this is 8.25 ounces for a UK 9.5. That fits true to size. I don't have any problems in terms of fit for this shoe. Both this and the old shoe are both a UK 9.5. This is a carbon plated racing shoe, so it's got a full length carbon plate in it, and we've got the speed roll technology in there, and I think that is about it in terms of the stats and features, what you need to know. One thing I did forget is the price. This shoe is £189 here in the UK, and you can get now version 2 on most of the websites out there, and you can get it from Saucony themselves. Right, so now I want to dive in firstly about the differences between the two, because there is hardly any, and you can't blame Saucony for not making too many changes, because they hit a home run with the whole Endorphin range, so like the Shift, the Speed and the Pro. For anybody new to the Endorphin line, basically the Pro's at the top is like the ultra racing shoe, and then you've got the Speed, which is racing and training, I would say, but it's definitely a softer compound. And then you've got the Shift, which is, let's say, for your more everyday or your longer runs as well, that kind of thing. Although I know a lot of people who use the Speed, myself included, on their daily runs because it's such a versatile shoe. But the Pro sits at the top and is your sort of race day shoe, I would say. Right, so let's talk about the changes, because they are very, very subtle. Get me words out. I spoke about in the stats and features briefly about the lockdown, the improvement they've made here. So if you can see that there's a tab there and there's a tab there, which pulls it across the top of the midfoot. You don't have that on this shoe. They've also changed the eyelets. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 remains. But can you see you've got just an element of structure there? They've removed that slightly, but they've sort of switched it out with different overlays. I mean, this is how minute the changes are. In talking about the overlays, they have changed them slightly in terms of feel and ones that they put on there. They've removed some at the back. See that? And that kind of stuff. So again, marginal changes. The tongues are exactly the same. One thing I did notice, and if you look that way, you'll see the heel is higher on this. We're going to measure it in a second, and look, it looks a little bit wider in the heel as well. I don't know whether that's because of the two shoes I've got, I'm not sure. Maybe that's because obviously I've done a lot more miles in these than I have in these. I've only been wearing these a week, and we've done some speed sessions and some moderate runs in them, but nothing like a race distance in them. But so just as a heads up, but that's why maybe there's the gap in the shoe. What else? Let's measure that actually. So we're going to get all scientific now, people, and I'm going to kind of wing it on this video in terms of where we're going and what we're doing. But I just wanted to see, so I'm going to measure this from here up until the heel, and that is just under 10 centimeters, under 4 inches. We'll go at the same point on the new shoe. That's the old shoe, by the way. Yeah, it's definitely lower. It's definitely lower. Not much, but it's definitely lower. So that's definitely got a higher fin on the back over your Achilles. And if you look at the sculpture as well, where it sort of really flips up, that's more rounded. Can you see that in terms of differences? Again, in terms of feel on the shoe, you don't notice any difference. They both have the same padding. Now we're going to talk about the sort of stack heights, because I thought it'd be cool to do. So I'm going to take it from there to there, and I'm probably going to get killed in the comments that I'm taking these measurements wrong, but this is what I want to check. So we've got from there to there is 4.5, 4.4, and we'll do the same on this. The other one, yeah, it's the same. So that's, what is it? I mean, it looks marginally less. Marginally less. No, it's the same. In terms of width, so we'll go across those arrows. So just under 10.1. We'll go under those. What arrows did I do? I think one of those ones. Go across there. Yep, same. So 3 inches and 3 inches. Oh, it looks a little bit wider. Let me go under that bit. 2 in there. Sorry if this is boring. Maybe I should speed through it. Yeah, 2 there. So it's the same. It is the same. It's the same cast, I think, anyway. Right, so effectively, that is the same across there. What it does feel, even though this is like, and you can see I've already taken the lumps out of this, by the way, this does feel a little bit more shiny. I may be going mad, but that just feels like more of a shiny texture. Again, it might be just me. The difference there is literally just the way they've coloured it. Okay, so that's just one block colour versus that. So that's just the colourways. Okay, so there's no difference there. I think that is about it. So pretty much I found zero differences apart from in the heel and on the laces. Okay, weights, let's do weights. Old version, 8.2 ounces. New version, 8.25 ounces. Grams, old version, 233. New version, 234. Nothing here. So weight wise, they're exactly the same as well. So how does the Pro 2 feel when running in it? It is a firmer ride, I would say. I'm just looking at them. Do they look longer? Does that look longer than me? Am I going mad? No, I'm going mad. The feel of it is quite. It's not like a Vaporfly, which is up there, but it does feel quite narrow. It can feel when you put them on. Unstable is the wrong word, because actually it's quite a stable shoe, I've found, but it can feel a little bit like you're, walking along a bar, that kind of thing. And you have to, I think, take it a little bit cautiously around the corners, because you can sort of move around a little bit, but it doesn't have the softness of the Zoom X, and the Pro definitely feels firmer, especially off the toe, than the Speed, which is why I think a lot of people prefer the Speed. What I find really interesting, and this is one of the main things I wanted to talk about today actually, is I don't see many people racing in these shoes. Now again, I've not been to a hell of a lot of races. I did a marathon back in April, and I know there's not many races going on, but the races that I have been to recently, I still don't see many people actually racing in the Endorphin Pro. They're all in the Nike Next Percent or in the Alpha Fly. or actually in the Asics Metasky. I've seen quite a few of those popping up. But the Pro, for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to be as popular. Now, for me, and if you're new to the channel, I wore these on my half PB that I did last year. Yeah, last year, which was 1 hour, 39 minutes. And I ran these shoes. And for me, the half marathon distance is where this is optimal. Because I would like wear an Asics Meta Racer or an Asics or Skechers Elite at a 10k distance. So for a half marathon shoe, I would probably wear this, and I've done this at 139. I'm looking at the Vaporfly, because the Vaporfly version 2, I would, if I've got a half marathon, road-based half marathon coming up, and I'm just trying to think when the next one is, but I don't think they're till autumn, I would probably wear that actually. But that said, for me, I think the sweet spot with the Pro is a half marathon. What do you think in terms of where it sits? I would also wear this shoe, because I was going to wear this shoe last year, or was it the year before, at one of the marathons, when I wasn't looking for a time. Because I think if you're like me and you're someone who runs a few marathons a year, I'm not necessarily picking every single race to go for a time. I'm looking for some races just to literally get the experience of running the marathon distance still. And I think for me, that's where the Pro would work on the marathon distance. I don't feel like I get the feedback I do from it like the Alphafly. The Alphafly is like a big, powerful SUV, like a Porsche Cayenne Turbo, which just cruises at like 200 miles an hour. And it's quite effortless. The Saucony Pro would still give you, or still give me that confidence to run the marathon distance, to run it at a reasonable pace, but not necessarily chase after a time, because I think because it's quite firm off toe off. And despite the speed roll in it, I just don't feel like I get as much sort of, I don't know, roll and feedback from the shoe as I do like, yeah, the Alphafly. The Vaporfly is just a complete maniac, and if you want to go out full out speed, then the Vaporfly is the one for you, but it is quite unstable. But yeah, the Pro for me, it's just, I don't know, if I wasn't looking for a time at a marathon distance, I think that's where I'd wear the Pro on the marathon distance. But other than that, I would wear it for the half marathon distance. I think that's where it comes into its own for me personally. So again, what's your thoughts on it? How do you sit in terms of where you would use the Pro? Or do you go and get the Speed? Because the Speed 2's out, which is like this, the version 2 of this is like hardly any changes. But the Speed has got that slightly softer midsole with I think that it's a more noticeable roll in terms of the technology. I don't know what it is. I think maybe because it is softer. Let me know in the comments. I really feel in the Speed that I am rolling through it and that I can carry more speed in the shoe. I don't know. But I wouldn't want to wear that over marathon distance personally, because I think it may be that little bit too soft for me over the marathon distance. He says the person who wears Alphaflies at the marathon distance. But yeah, I don't know whether I would. But the reason I want to talk about the Speed is because I still think that offers the best value out of the Saucony shoes, the Endorphin shoes. I personally, if you was looking at the Pro and the Speed, I would send you to the Speed because you can train in it and race in it. So looking from a budget point of view, and I think it's still £155 here in the UK. So I think the Pro has a more selective audience. I think the Pro is there, you know, obviously for you elite guys who are getting the most benefit out of this shoe. I don't think, like I said before, I don't get the benefit 100% out of these shoes. I still think this shoe is designed for someone a lot faster than me. But the reason I have it, as I said, is because I think for the half marathon distance for me is where its sort of sweet spot is. But I would always send you towards the Speed. If you're an everyday runner like me, I think it just offers more value and it just gives you that little bit more feedback. It's maybe a nice middle ground between, you know, going from a non-carbon plated shoe to and it's a TPU plated shoe to a plated shoe. I just think the feedback from it is a little bit more sort of what we're used to. So yeah, what I'm trying to say is I think the Pro has a more selective audience. So if you're looking at the two, Speed and Pro, go with the Speed. But if you're looking for a marathon shoe, I think there's some other ones to look at. So what would I recommend in terms of marathon shoes? So let's say you're doing London Marathon in 2021, in October, and you're looking for a carbon plated sort of racing shoe. because you don't want to necessarily run it in what you've trained in or whatever. I would personally point you to the Alpha Fly. I would personally point you, and we've not done the review, it will be coming out soon, on the Asics Meta Sky. That's another really interesting shoe. I think that's a great shoe, actually. So I would send you towards the Alpha Fly or the Asics. If you do like a slightly firmer ride, then maybe the Pro. It is quite stable. I would say I would choose this over the Brooks Hyperion Elite. I would version 2. I know there's a version 3 coming, but I would pick this all day long over the Brooks. What else in terms of hyper shoes? You've got the Vaporfly Next Percent, but for me personally, you've got to be absolutely gunning it to get the best out of that shoe. I see so many people running along in that shoe like that or like that, and over 26.2 miles. That's just no good. But they're the sort of picks I would say for a marathon shoe in terms of carbon plated racing shoes or hyper shoes. If you're looking for a marathon shoe, let's say for this year. So that's it, guys. I mean, I don't know whether this video's helped. I've been rambling on as always. But my point, what I wanted to get over from this video really is the fact that there's no changes to this shoe. And if there is, it's marginal. It is a good, versatile carbon plated shoe. There's no denying that. At £189, I think it's well priced. The upper's super, the Power Run PB midsole's great. Yeah, you get the pop from the carbon plate, but it can feel firm on toe off. I don't think, for me, this is a marathon shoe. I think this is more of a half marathon shoe. And I think there's better out there. So that's it really. I don't think there's anything else to say on it. I'll be interested to get your views more than anything else on it, and check out what you're saying down in the comments below. It just baffles me that I don't see many Endorphin Pros at races. And that's sort of, I think, enough proof in itself. Maybe it's a herd mentality that we all follow down the Nike route and we go and get the Next Percent and the Alpha Fly. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with this shoe. This is a great, great, great shoe, people. As I said, I've done my half marathon PB in this shoe, this exact shoe. And there's plenty, look, there's still plenty of tread on this. Do I need these? No. But look at the tread on that. It's just incredible. So, you know, the durability point of the shoe is awesome. I remember when some of these carbon plate shoes were coming out and they were saying you might get like 100 miles on some of them. I mean, that's incredible, the wear on that. So, you know, from a value point of view, these shoes are lasting. But yeah, I'd just be interested to know what you think about the Pro in terms of where it sits. It's got me in a bit of a conundrum in terms of why people aren't necessarily racing in it, and why they're going for the Nike shoes.